Today in pre-algebra, I wanted to jump into our signed number review. So these are our positives. Whoop, forgot to let my pencil it out. So these are positives and negative signs. I know this seems very much so, Miss Davis, we know how to do this, we're good at it, but it doesn't hurt to review it because the more you review, the better you get. So here, for adding and subtracting, I gave you this little thing here. Larger minus smaller, keep the sign of the larger. I'm gonna show it to you in addition, and then I'm gonna show you how to apply it in subtraction. Okay, so here I have 14 plus 25. They are opposite signs. So I'm going to do 25 minus 14, which gives me 9, and I'm gonna take the symbol of the larger. So it gives me a negative 9. Okay, here, if I notice, they both have negative signs. So I'm just gonna add them together like normal. So 6 plus 5 is 11, carry the 1, 3, 4, 5, 51. However, since they're both negative, I have to keep the negative sign. Easy enough. Okay, here I have subtraction. So what I'm gonna show you to do is this. Take this sign, change it, and make the number after it a negative. And here you can see I have a negative plus a negative, which is gonna give me negative 18. As my final answer. And again, when we do this, so I'm going to change this to a positive. This is already negative, so I'm also going to change that back to a positive. One of the things I like to do is I show my students in higher grades, if they have two negatives right next to each other, they cancel out and become a positive. So that's all we did here. However, now I have a negative 31 and a positive 16. So I'm going to do 31 minus 16, and I'm going to get 15. And then my larger number is negative, so it's a negative 15. Also, I did not plan on having all four of those end up being negative. It's just how it works. Okay, so here I've got negative 31 plus 15. So I'm going to say, since they're opposite signs being added, I'm going to do larger minus smaller, which is 16. And I'm going to take the sign of the larger, which is negative. Again, I've got 8 and negative 6. So I'm going to do larger minus smaller. So 8 minus 6 is 2. And I'm going to take the symbol of the larger, which is positive. Here, I am going to take this and change this to a plus a negative, and then I've got two of the same symbol. So 9 plus 6 is 15, and it is negative. Here, I've got two minuses next to each other, so they're going to cancel out and give me a positive. So I'm going to do just 24 plus 17, because those both became positive. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that gives me 41. Okay? Now, reviewing with multiplying and dividing. If they are the same sides, your answer is going to be positive. If they're opposite signs, your answer is going to be negative. Pretty easy. 25 times negative 6. Well, I can already see I've got a positive and a negative, so my answer is going to be negative. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 2 is 12. 13, 14, 15. 150. Negative 150. Okay, 6 times 12, they're both positive, same signs. My answer is going to be positive, so this is going to be, my brain just did 72. Okay, see, even I have issues sometimes. Okay, now moving into division, you can see they've got the same sign, so my answer is going to be a positive 3, because 12 divided by 4 is a positive 3. Here, you can see they've got opposite signs, so my answer is going to be negative, and 72 divided by 8 is 9, so I have negative 9 as my answer. Now, what happens when we have multiple numbers being strung together? My hint for you is if it's an odd number of negatives, the answer is going to be negative. Oop. Odd number of negatives, I'm just going to put equals negative, okay? And then if it's an even number, it's going to be positive. Now, why is this? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. However, if I have a negative times a negative, that gives me a positive times another negative is a negative. So if you kind of see, we've got like these two little things here, and this has been tested time and time again. So if it's an odd number of negatives, your answer is going to be negative, okay? If it's an even number, it's going to be positive. So let's test that out. Negative 6 times negative 4 is a positive 24, okay? Times a negative 7. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 2 is 14, 15, 16. And it's going to be negative because it's a positive times a negative. And then we're going to multiply it by a negative 2. So, and it's a negative times a negative, which gives me a positive 336. So if we go up here and we see 1, 2, 3, 4, that's an even number, so I'm going to end up with positive. Perfect. So let's count this. I've got one negative. So that's an odd number. So I think that this answer is going to be negative. So let's test it out. 5 times 4 is a positive 20 because they're both positive. And then times negative 3 gives me a negative 60. See, it does work out. So all you have to do is make sure that you are paying attention to these signs. You have to pay attention because it can be the difference between one side or another. If you're looking at a number line and you've got 0 in the middle, positive 20 is way over here on the right, whereas negative 20 is way over here on the left. That's a big gap. So by changing the symbol, you're actually completely changing the number and the answer around. So just pay attention to what you're doing. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow when we review equations.